You've survived another week. Thank you for listening, downloading, and supporting the Black Man with a Gun Show. This is episode 551, and we're going to do something a little different. Michael J. Woodland and myself have a nice long conversation as he motivates me, cheers me up. Got a little Christmas blues going on here. Have you ever thought about building your own AR rifle? Going to give you a couple of tips about that. And in general, I'm just sending some good vibes your way. This is your friend and your brother from another mother, Ken Blanchard. Welcome to the Black Man with a Gun Show.
BlackManWithAGun.com, Ken Blanchard's Pro Gun Podcast.
I want to thank you for being here. Thank all those who support this podcast through Patreon.com. Patreon tried to do something funky, but they recanted and went back to normal. So thank you for those who stayed and are supporting us. After John Wayne leads us in the Pledge of Allegiance, we're going to get on with building an AR.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
One of the cool things about the modern sporting rifle, MSR, or AR platform rifle, is that you can build one yourself nowadays. At lunch the other day at work, my part-time gig, I heard two guys talking about what they were doing. And I thought, man, it's not a bad topic to talk about on the show. Have you built an AR yet? You know, the rifle, the modern sporting rifle, the AR platform, it's customizable, it's adaptable, it's reliable, it's accurate. A decade or two ago, who cared? But today, since knowledge is what it is, and such kits are available, you can DIY this thing. And folks who already own 1, 2, and 4 AR-style rifles are wanting to build their own. And I ain't mad at you. Like President Trump would say, that's huge. Really huge. If you're new to the family, the term AR-15 is a Colt registered trademark, and only Colt uses the term right now. And some firearms enthusiasts like us like to say black rifles all the time due to the dominant color of this category of firearms. Can you build your own AR? Absolutely. But it can be expensive. You'll either pay for it in time or money. And if you live in a state like I do that is restrictive of your rights, it might be a pain. But you should have these tools: a workbench, an AR-15 vice block, standard punch set, really like roll pin punches, roll pin holders, wrenches and hammers. Brownells has a nice kit. A stock wrench ball peen hammer, for example, 4 ounces. And you might need a multi-tool, a takedown tool. And just kind of scour the forums and find somebody who's already done it. That's your best bet. Never do anything like this alone. 1, is not that much fun, and 2, you might buy crap that you don't need, which is a capital offense. One thing folks don't know is that the only part of the rifle that is controlled by our U.S. government is that lower receiver part of the rifle. The part where the trigger and the magazine well is where that serial numbered part of the firearm is. So you can buy a lower receiver, and it works the same way as if you were buying a complete firearm. AR-15 type stripped lowers have to be shipped to an FF dealer. You have to pass a federal background check before taking possession of that stripped lower. And there's always somebody in our community who wants to go to extra and do the ghost lower, but I won't talk about that right now. There's a whole bunch of little parts in that stripped lower part of the AR. Trigger, the bolt catch, the springs, the pivot, the takedown pins, a selector switch, and a hammer. And the best way to get that is to buy a kit that has all those pieces. But you can, a la carte that bad boy if you want. I think there's like 31 parts in there. 2 companies I recommend you check out online. First is the Palmetto State Armory and the Midway USA. They both have kits, and they're pretty big companies. If do-it-yourself is your thing, then you can customize and adapt from all the stuff that's out there. You'll be looking for a pistol grip, a fire control group. You'll be looking for a selector, a bolt catch, magazine release, a bolt carrier group, a buffer tube, a barrel nut, gas block, upper receiver, and you can get the upper in a kit as well which usually has the injection port door, the spring, forward assist parts, and sometimes even comes with a charging handle. But sometimes, and most typically, it doesn't come with that bolt or the carrier. Then there's the charging handle. You can get something all customized and engraved and stuff. Gas tubes, handguard, stocks, and some kind of sights if you don't go with the expensive glass or scope. And for you guys who have already done it, feel free to tell me that I missed something and leave a note or comment on blackmanwithagun.com to help others find their way. Leave some breadcrumbs from this article, whether you find it on Facebook or on the website. Even though this is the time of Christmas and Hanukkah and holiday season for many people, a lot of us still get a little blue in the wintertime. According to the smart people, this is normal. They say it has something to do with the light and that it is because of the days being short and just us remembering when things get slow, our brain is working full time. We start thinking about the things that we haven't accomplished in life and the things that we've fallen short and people that we've lost. I think that's one of the reasons why the Christmas holiday has been created as it is, with the Christmas lights and the holly and the family celebrations. Now, for the Christians, it is a celebration of the birth of Christ, which did not happen on December 25th. But it is still a great time to celebrate his birth, his life, and the gift that God gave us at a time when a lot of us can get really down, pretty sad, pretty depressed, just seasonal wise. Guess I might bring this up more on the Speak Life podcast that I do. But the blues is the blues, man. And one of the best things you can do when you're feeling low is to go find a friend, call somebody. You know that you were made not to be alone. Yeah, being social is important. Sometimes we isolate ourselves and unknowingly hurt ourselves. Remember when we were in trouble as a little kid and they put you in a corner by yourself? You separate bad prisoners by solitary confinement. You can actually torture somebody by making it solitary. But yet, because of social media and all the computer stuff that we have, you can exist for a pretty long time now by yourself, stimulated by yourself, not really knowing that you are still by yourself. It will come to you eventually, and you won't know why you feel like you do. Well, this time in my life, I was actually looking at the count, 551 episodes of a podcast, 10 years of doing it, looking at the SHOT Show that's coming up in January and wondering, should I even go? And I've pretty much told myself, no, not right now. But it's mostly for financial reasons. It's not smart for me to go right now. The return in investment is low. Last year, I knocked myself out getting to the SHOT Show, and I had an interview with some folks at a media company, and I thought that was going to become something that didn't. So that was my fault for hyping that thing up and wishing it was going somewhere that they had no idea of what they wanted to do with me. One of the expensive lessons I learned in 2017 is that a goal without a plan is just a wish. But you see, I've been in this game for a minute. I've been doing this stuff for a while. So I'm kind of like that old guy who you've given everything to. What do you give a guy who's got everything? That's where I'm at right now on the goal set. I remember getting an award before a packed house at a National Rifle Association annual meeting for civil rights. I remember getting an award for the Eddie Eagle program, bringing them to the District of Columbia. I remember editing the Refuse to be a Victim booklet. I can remember being on 4 documentaries, being quoted in a comedy, spurned by Oprah, speaking on CNN, being on the Capitol of the United States of America talking about gun rights, being with other gun rights activists at the U.S. Mall, talking about the Second Amendment March, helping influence politicians in 5 states that changed concealed carry reform, being approached by the Libertarian Party of Maryland to be the governor candidate, actually running for office in Prince George's County, Maryland, as a county councilman, and failing, of course, sharing a stage of about 20,000 people in upstate New York, following behind the now President of the United States. Remember when I was trying to buy a range in Waldorf, Maryland, that my elders told me was a money pit, and they saved me from a fate worse than bankruptcy, I believe. And I really, really tried to encourage all those in the struggle for gun rights, because I know how bad it can be. I know how tough it can be to be pro-gun in your family and nobody else is. I've learned and know that no matter how I feel, to get up, dress up, show up, and to never give up. But still, I get tired. And now, as I'm getting a little older, I'm not quite as old as you think I am, but I'm getting a little older. And I've done some stuff. I remember having a firearms training business about a mile from the range and not getting a contract. Didn't realize it was on lockdown from the two guys who had retired from the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department, that they were doing some unethical things too, but that's another story. My little company, NRA training, GSA trained, Maryland State Police trained, Federal Law Enforcement Training Center instructor trained. And I was still struggling. I know 9,999 things that don't work in business. I went at it hard my first couple of years. Bankrupted my family. I did it so badly. I got mental scars on me like a Spartan. So sometimes, around this time of year, I get a little low. And this time I decided to call a friend, and I called Michael J. Woodland, that gives us the tips and tricks segment of the podcast. And we did a live Skype call, which only recorded my mug, unfortunately. Going to have to try to do this once a month because we had a really good time. And I'm going to share that conversation after these messages. Are you starting something new? Do you need a logo, a mascot, website redesign, a new website altogether, album art for your podcast, or maybe even some podcast producing? If so, contact me, your friend, and your brother from another mother at kenblanchard.com. I'm more than another company. I will help you get from where you are to where you want to go. Graphics, media, and design at kenblanchard.com. Do you have a concealed carry permit? Have you received training, been educated in its use of self-defense and protecting you and your family? Well, one piece you might be missing is self-defense insurance. It's what responsible gun owners do. A friend of mine started a company, a magazine back in the day, and the magazine was successful. He was able to branch out, provide education, training, and self-defense insurance for responsible gun owners. It's the USCCA. I am now an affiliate. I want to show off my buddy right now. Go to uscca.blackmanwithagun.com and check out the page. I guarantee you there's something that you could use, something that can help you, something that can make you better. uscca.blackmanwithagun.com. Check it out. Education, training, and self-defense insurance for responsible gun owners. Michael, we on the same sheet of music this time. It's a little bit different, huh?
That's it right there. So this time I can actually say welcome and hey, how's it going? Instead of thank you, Ken, and welcome to another Tips and Review segment. I am Michael Woodland.
That's too cool. All right, so we got both of us together on the Black Man with a Gun show, and man, what's going on with you this week?
Man, nothing's really going on with me. You know, just preparing for the holiday season. Going to pick up little Emma next week. We're going up to Virginia so she can spend time with family and grandma, of course. And I'm really looking forward to that because the last time I went to Virginia was the last time I came and saw you. Yeah, so that was about 2 years ago. Yeah, a little bit over a year. Yeah. So other than that, I just want to go ahead and get back into shooting. I've been slacking on that. And, you know, just talking to people, going out, talking to people and, you know, doing more for the podcast.
Right. Okay, cool. Man, as I've turned this thing over to episode 500 plus, sometimes I'm thinking I'm talking to the air. I know I got a couple of folks who send me some encouragement, but it's never, sometimes you can never have enough when you're tired. You kind of know what I'm saying? Like, I've been doing this thing, man. Like, everything that I hear right now is like not new. There's,
right.
I was so far out front back in the day that it's amazing to me that there's so many brothers like you and on Instagram and Facebook and all over social media. And you guys are doing pretty well as far as, contacting other people and making inroads. And it's like, well, these guys are doing it, so I'm done. I don't have to do anything else. And you kind of gave me some encouragement this week, so I appreciate that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, but that's what we're here for. We're here to pick each other up, use each other for encouragement, and keep the mission still going forward. But as I told you, a lot of people look at you as a pioneer in this gun game, and it's coming from all sides. It's Puerto Rican, black, white, it doesn't really matter. It's just, as I put it in an analogy when I was talking with you, I use Ali, King, and Kaepernick. And none of those guys got the recognition during their time in their prime. It was after the fact, 10 or 15 years later, right? And it's going to come around and it's going to hit you that same way. So when they start doing an instructor Hall of Fame or whatever, you're going to be there, So
there's quite a few instructors right now.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of people out there, but it's a lot of people out there for just the cool factor, and it's a lot of people out there for the monetary factor. But it's a small percentage that are actually doing it for the care factor. Because like I had this conversation with somebody over at the gun store 2 weeks ago. I know for a fact I can easily promote a class and charge $300, $400, $500. I know I can easily do that all behind this podcast, but I'm not doing that. I'm not trying to get rich off of this. I just want to share the knowledge with people because I honestly feel everybody needs to know how to shoot, because what happened back then is going to turn around. It's going to happen again. Because it's like, if you don't know history, it's going to repeat itself. And that's about where we at right now. It's about to repeat itself.
One of the tough things, though, is that if you're in an urban environment, you don't have an outdoor range that you can take your folks to. You usually have to use a static range, indoor range, and they're really, really strict because there's some really crazy people that show up in there sometimes and have no training whatsoever, so they make it bad for everybody else. So anybody who says, I'm a firearms instructor, and the ranges are there to make money and to be safe, and they're not really trying to hear you introduce anything new that's not super, super safe and super, super static. So it's always been a struggle for me to bring people to go from 0 to 5, not even 100, just get them past the basics of marksmanship with the limits of just a classroom and a static range. Because once you get them past that point, you want to introduce them to everything from concealed carry to rifle shooting, and it's tough. It's tough in the cities. So a lot of that kind of like has played on it too. I'll watch these great videos of people who have land. I mean, you're in the country, you can actually shoot outside. We got a few ranges, and I'd have to get a million different OKs and approvals and things before I can actually get out there. So it kind of kills the joy of making a video when you got to do so many steps. So I haven't. And in all honesty, my initial goal was to be the community guy, to be the guy that everybody called on that wasn't cuckoo, that could actually talk to the mothers and the daughters and the folks who weren't gun people from birth, didn't serve in the military, and be that guy, the calm guy. But right. Man, it was hard back in the 90s to get that out.
Well, I think when it comes to the gun culture, everything we do in life has an image to it. So even if you sit there and you say basketball player, first person you'll probably think of in our generation was Michael Jordan. This generation, LeBron James. Same thing with football. You know what I'm saying? It's always going to be identified with who's the most popular, right? But the difference between the gun culture is as soon as you say guns, automatically people identify Republican or old white guy. And that stereotype is slowly been breaking down for the past, 6-7 years now?
Yeah, because of social media. People actually
all
can
because of
see
social media.
Yeah.
That's right. And But the best part about it is that all you need is that little bit of an inch, and it's going to snowball. It's going to get bigger and bigger because, like I said, Coleon Noir, his first videos was just him talking about guns. Look at him now. He's traveling around shooting guns, and he got the inside scoop to a lot of industry stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but you know, it's like I said, a lot of people they just don't understand what we're faced against, and everybody's jumping on a bandwagon with politics. Not so much what's going on in the community, just politics, and everybody's feeding into the hype. But people really need to get a grasp of what's going on in their communities. You know, so yeah, we had 18 million people go out for the election when Obama was running for president, but when Trump came, it was like 7 million, right? So, but I'm a firm believer in you can have the First Amendment, but you can't have the First Amendment unless you have the Second Amendment, and vice versa. You know, because that's right. So that's how the forefathers put it. You have to have a gun to fight off the government because they don't want the same thing to happen when it happened back in their time. You know, but you have people slowly taking it. But like I said, we as a society, we need to wake up. And funny thing, I was at Walmart, and me and this vet, we was talking. And I told him straight up, as long as we have people bumping heads, you know, if you want to play the race card, black against white, as long as we're doing this, that's why the government is doing what they're doing. Because the people are supposed to be running the government, not the government running the people. You know, so, and like I said, I think I'm a big conspiracy guy anyway, but, you know, but.
There's a whole bunch of folks, man. They spend most of their time plotting and scheming and saying what the government is doing.
Yeah. But the whole thing, and I honestly believe that, I think once the people come together, and if you get rid of people who are using the Confederate flag as a symbol, you get people who get rid of that deep South mentality of they're better just because of their skin color, and people start coming together, communities helping each other outside of when a tragedy happens. And then we as a people, we start coming together as a society. Right there, I think that's going to be the snowball effect of people actually taking control from the government, and it's coming back to the people.
That was the coolest part about my podcast. When I first started, it was called The Urban Shooter, and it was urban because I'm in the city.
Right.
And all my marketing people, they say, hey, man, you should use the word black man with a gun, which took me a long time to do it, even after the book came out. And then the funny thing about that was, here's this guy with a book called Black Man with a Gun. Black Man with a Gun at AOL.com, Black Man with a Gun at gmail.com. I finally got past. I mean, when I first started that thing, man, it was out there. AOL 1.0 used to have this little thing that would open up, and a little instant message would come up, and it would sound like a door. And I had this, my thing was Black Man with a Gun. Well, when that thing first came out, I had all kind of strange people saying, okay, how you doing, Black Man with a Gun? How black is your gun? And it would have been a great name for like a porn star, because I had a whole bunch of like strange folks trying to hit me up on this thing. The gun piece came way later. And then, I found out that most of the people that were listening to my podcast and following me on my website were not black. And I had to change my whole perception of the gun culture, because the people who were giving me firearms and inviting me out to do things did not look like me. And it was the second time that ever happened. Like, the military made me feel really good that, we were all just military people, no matter what you were. And then it happened again in the gun culture. And then for the longest time, it was just me and just a couple of people. And you would run into a black person every once in a while. And it was like a joke of like, we got to make this thing for everybody, and it's got to be more inclusive. And that was like the thing for like a decade. Now, people are still saying it, but it is nowhere like it was back in 91, 92.
Man, I'm trying to tell you, like, I totally understand what you're saying, because back then, that was the big divide amongst society, was the color of your skin. Which, when you really sit there and you look at it, you'd be like, man, this is so shallow of people, and
So 1960.
yeah, from 1960, and we're still doing the same thing from back then. Only thing that's not happening is the lynchings. Well, I'm pretty sure they're still happening. It's just not being advertised as like they were back then. But I remember I was at my buddy's gun store, Delphi Tactical, up in North Carolina, and I was talking to him and everything, and he was like, "Yeah, I can do this for you. I can do that for you." And I was like, "Well, I really don't want to ruin your image, because I don't want people to say one thing because I'm doing the podcast and the name of the podcast." And he was like, "Man, I don't care about that. That's catchy to me. I like that."
I know. That messed me up.
Yeah. And then my other buddy, his name is Craig. He owns the company OSOC, One Shot, One Kill, OSOC Apparel. Pretty much he said the same thing. Like, when he found out I was doing the podcast, he was like, "Hey man, I like that. That's catchy." Like that. He said, "I can see you really rocking with that." Like that. And I was like, "Yeah, but it's not my branding. It's my buddy's branding. I'm just helping him out a little bit." So, but it's catchy. A lot of people who I talk to, they really like it. But this is a different era of people, because we'll take like a logo like Motel 6 and turn it into something like Motel 7.62 or something like that.
That would never happen 20 years ago.
No, it would never happen, but marketing genius from somebody who's like a creative artist in today's society.
But our culture is different too. We are seeking to be more diverse, but we're there. We're there. We're not perfect, but we are so far from when I started. In 86, when I opened my first shingle, started a business to be training in firearms and first aid and CPR for law enforcement and for security guards, is light years from then to now. Back then, the problem was I didn't look old enough to be competent. I didn't look old enough to have a business. There were a couple of old retired DC police officers who were like running things. They had the lockdown on all the contracts. And here's this young guy who had an office, had a training facility, was hanging out at the stores and the ranges and passing out his cards. This is all prior to Google and Facebook and Instagram and all that. And I'm trying my best to get some business, and I'd get like 1 or 2 customers a month, and that was the overhead was killing me. And when I finally gave that all up, and the NRA adopted me to have me be a spokesman for them, I was alone, man. And the people who everybody's like, "You're with them?" And I was like, "Yeah." And they treat me pretty damn good too, actually. It's what can I say? I'm learning about my own issues. I'm learning about my own prejudices. And I've learned over time that, and I say it all the time, anybody who will give you a gun is family. And anybody trying to take one away from you is really your enemy. And it has nothing to do with color. And it's been a cool thing. But then now I'm just watching all the progress. It's like, all right, nobody even has to listen to me say this stuff. And you guys just keep on doing. Coleon's doing great stuff. Argo J's out there. Maj is doing stuff. I mean, there's like just people breaking down barriers, and they're all over the place. It's like, all right, so maybe it's time for the old dude to chill. And then you was like, "No, man." I was like,
"No, can't do it. Can't let you go like that. Not that easy." Yeah. So, but it goes back to what I was saying. Like, how many people actually look at you as that fulcrum? They got to hear your voice every week. How many people do, when they hear your voice, it helps them push through? How about that one person who's probably depressed because they can't go to the range because they're bedridden or whatever the case may be. But just hearing your voice and knowing a little bit about your history is just enough to make them feel positive about the day. Or what about somebody who you bring on for an interview and you change their opinion totally about guns because they're only looking at it from one perspective. And let's just say it's a profit margin for them, but after you sit there and you talk to them and you throw a few questions at them and their mind expands a little bit, now they're footed a little bit better and they're going to be a more positive impact for the community as a whole. So it's like I said, your reach is a little bit deeper than what you think it is, because there was one point in time I was like, I really don't think me doing the tips and all is really helping out anything. Right. And then next thing you know, it was like 3 days after I made that comment, you was like, yeah, man, people contacted me. They like what you're doing. They like what you're saying. And I was like, really? Oh, wow. And every now and then somebody will shoot me an email and be like, hey, man, I like what you're doing, or can you talk about this? But, I just run with it. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, as soon as you hear that motivating factor, it's just enough to pick you back up and like, hey, I'm back in charge of it, But I know for a fact, I don't want to see you go. So if I'm saying that, how many people behind me are saying the same exact thing? No, yeah. So like I said, I think it'll hurt a lot of people, not just so many people who listen to the podcast, but the reach out that you got. You know what I'm saying? So people in the NRA community, people at USCCA, the holster company, Crossbreed holster. So, and like I said, because like I said, your image, your brand is associated with all these people, but look at the outreach from those companies and people. Your voice is reaching out through them also. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those factors like, oh man, Superman is quitting, man. He just ate the kryptonite. Nah, come on, man. Hey, let's help him out. Get the kryptonite away from him. So, but it's like I said, as soon as you said that, I was sitting in my kitchen and I was about to walk out the door and go to the gym and work out. But as soon as you said that, I just leaned over the microwave and started emailing away. Like that. And I was like, nah, we can't do this. We can't have that happen, So, but I can actually say, for one, I don't want to see you go, right? And at the same time, as I was telling you, like at the beginning of the year and the ending of last year, like I honestly believe if we was to actually do a road trip and plan to go to at least 5 cities, I think you'll see how far your reach is actually going, and then because I know my buddy Johnny King. You had him on the show a few times. Yeah, Johnny was even like, hey, man, you think he'll autograph my book? And this is when they had the NRA event in Atlanta, right? And I was like, yeah, man, he'll autograph it for you. You think I can get close to him? You with me. So, yeah, you'll be right next to him, man, shaking his hand. He'll probably whisper in your ear and say something, crack a joke to you, So, and, just hearing little stuff like that, like I said, you're there. You are there. You know what I'm saying? So please stay with it. And I know I'm speaking amongst the millions that listen, because, a lot of people probably be shy to write in and say anything about it. But at the same time, no, I still think you got gas in the gas tank. Keep it till it runs dry. You know what I'm saying? When it runs dry, that's when you can't talk no more.
One of the things I've learned that I want to pass on, sometimes you talk to people who are not pro-gun, and I found out that they're usually anti-gun for just a few reasons. One, if they're a victim of a violent crime. If you're a victim of a violent crime, you can go one of two ways. You're either going to say never again, or I don't want anything to do with a firearm, even though it had nothing to do against you. It was the person behind the machine. And the second is ignorance. Sometimes we pick up stuff from our families and from friends, from television, from all that influence. And we've been co-opted into thinking, yes, so-and-so says they're bad, so they must be bad. And we kind of adopt that. That happens a lot.
Right.
And what you can do is make it personal. If you get past the point to find out where they're at, take them out of the rhetoric. So say they say, Oprah says, so then you immediately you can follow what Oprah writes, and then you can just dismiss that part right there and just don't ever like quote her again. But put them in a situation where it's them. It's not Oprah. Make it real. I remember this one lady, she called me and she said, I got your number off the radio, and you did an interview with that guy, and he was talking about drug addiction and drug addicts and murderers and killers and criminals in the street. My son was killed, and the gun did it. And, you know, you can hear a pin drop in the studio because everybody's going to go, oh, man, what's he going to say to this lady?
Yeah.
And
how do you respond to that?
my first thing was her. I said, sister, I'm really, really sorry for your loss of your son. I know he meant a lot to you. He's your baby. Can you tell me what happened? And she was like, he was hanging outside with his friends. It was 4:00 in the morning and blah, blah, blah. And he's okay student and blah, blah. And I thought, all right, it's like now parent to parent, why is your baby doing outside at 4 a.m. on a school night? She was like, I said, I'm not going to dog you or come at you about being a bad mom or nothing, none of that. I was like, but you know he should have been home. And
right.
he wasn't involved in that stuff. From what you just told me, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So you can't really blame the pistol. And if you had a firearm yourself, wouldn't you protect your baby from that lifestyle? And she was like, yeah, I'm still don't believe in guns, but it's not the gun, it was the guy, wasn't it? And I was like, yes, ma'am. It was the people he was hanging with. And he was outside, said my babies are in their beds by 11. Nobody's outside the house after midnight. Everybody listening, take care of your people. Do what you have to do to keep your family safe. Don't let the streets raise your baby. And I took that thing totally off of the gun, and the phone lines like lit up in the radio station, and people were like, I can't believe you talked to that mother like that, and you're so insensitive. And they were just going for it, right? And then when the show was over, that lady called me on my cell phone, and she said, I hear what you're saying. Thank you. And that was it. I never talked to her again. But you got to be able to take the situation away from the movie, the sound bites, the famous people, and make it to them. And it's always about one person. Sometimes when me and you are talking, it should just be me and you talking, knowing that other people are listening, and they're going to make their own decisions and get their own perspectives. But the conversation really is just between you and me, and folks will come to the realization on their own. You can't push anybody anywhere. That's the secret.
Exactly.
Have these YouTube battles and the trolls jump in there, and everybody tries to show how smart they are by answering the question that nobody asked them. Dismiss that. Stay on track, and then you can make a difference.
Yeah. I know for a fact, like when I was growing up, and I grew up in Newport News, Virginia, so you already knew that was a rough area. But when I was actually growing up, when you had a problem with somebody, they dealt with it with hands, right? Everybody make a circle around you. You fight. After you fight, you shake hands and you go about your business. I want to say when I turned about 17, 18 years old, right before I left for the military, that's about the time frame when people started shooting each other, for stupid stuff, disagreements or whatever the case may be. And I used to live with my grandmother, and I remember I walked into my grandmother's house and I had my gun, and like every time I would walk into the kitchen and I put it in the cupboard over the refrigerator, because nobody can really reach it in the house other than me.
Right. You're the tall guy.
Yeah. So, but she was even like, not one time has she ever told me not to carry a gun. She just asked me, do you feel safe carrying it? And I was like, yes, I do, Grandma. And she said, you know how to use it? And I said, yes, ma'am. And that was the end of the conversation. You know what I'm saying? She just be safe with it. Now my mom, on the other hand, oh, I don't like guns. And so, of course, I hit my mom with the question, why you don't like guns, Mama? Right? because I already knew my mom never had a direct interaction with guns. She never held a gun, right? So she only knows what she hear other people saying and what she saw on TV, which the negative light of the news.
Oprah.
Yeah. So and I sat there and I took the gun apart, and she'll walk by and then she'll peep around the corner, won't even come close around it. So like I was like, here, mama, just hold it. Ain't nothing gonna happen to you. This is just like holding a fort. you know. But she touched it, but you could tell she was uneasy about it. So I didn't want to push it no further. But we sat there and we talked about it, and I told her nobody's just gonna walk up on me and do anything, right? Because your demeanor is what causes people to come at you, unless you're living that street life like that and people are coming after you for a specific reason. But me just walking down the street, nobody's just going to walk up on me unless I'm in an area that I'm not familiar with and I stand out. Now, the little kids or the stick up kids or however you want to look at it, they might try something, or like, for instance, one day my grandfather was in a bank and the bank got robbed. Guy walks in, shotgun to the ceiling. Yeah. So I was like, so now imagine if somebody in that bank had a gun, right? They could have helped the situation out, right? Not saying that guy was going to hurt anybody, because normally when somebody robs a bank, the first thing they say is, we're not here to hurt nobody. We just want the money, right? But still, as soon as you pulled that gun out and you pulled the trigger, now everybody's life is in danger, because if a cop was to come in and start shooting at you, who can get hit in the crossfire, So, and when I started explaining stuff to her like that in a simple manner, you could see the wheels start to turn, but it was still going against what she believed after all those years, but it's like I said, my mom and my grandmother, their way of thinking was going outward, but like I said, and I was always amazed, because I've always said, just like you, my grandmother was before her time, right? Just like I said to you, you was doing everything you was doing, it was before your time. You know what I'm saying? So now, if you happen to have been born between 74 and 79 and do everything you just did, with guns in your life, right? You will be on par with everybody. So you'll be on par now with Coleon, Hank Strange, Kevin Dixie, you know what I'm saying? Argon J. You'll be on par with all those guys, right? But you just have some people who are before their time. Like, the way they think, it makes sense to you, but it's just everybody else is, oh man, that guy don't know what he's talking about. 15 years later, man, I was doing that when I was 18 years old, So the mindset is totally remarkable. But once again, society guides people, because some people are still in the matrix. They're still hooked up to the matrix. They don't think on their own.
True that.
Yeah. So
the other cool thing about us is that we're both Tidewater guys. And and that was like the first thing you said, that I was like, wow, Newport News is right down the street from Suffolk. And also raised by my grandmother off and on. And my mother is also at the other end of the spectrum. She's come around now since the book. When the funny was, when the book came out in 1999, the first edition of Black Man with a Gun, my mom was like, this is my baby's book. She had been anti-gun like my whole life until this book came out. Then she was at the bus lot. She's a school bus driver. She was selling this book, man. She was like my best marketing person, which was like hilarious.
Yeah, I know, like when I would tell people, like, when people normally talk to you, hey, where you from? Right? Majority of the time, I would say Charlotte, because I used to live with my dad for a little bit. He got custody of me when I was like 12 years old. And I lived with him up until my last year in high school, and I, wanted to go back and graduate with my brother. So when I would tell people, half the time I don't even think about it, because I know a lot of people know about Newport News because of Michael Vick and Allen Iverson. So I sit back and if you just ask me and I'm not even thinking, I'll be like, yeah, man, I'm from Newport News. And that, people give you that look like, man, y'all be doing some shooting down there. And I was like, nah, I got out before the shooting started. We did everything with the hands, So, but the whole thing is, like I said, if everybody can relate to an area like that, and if it's rough like that, now we need to do something in the gun community as people that promote, hey, get a gun. A gun is good. A gun is not evil. But now what we need to do is we need to put programs together and make people aware, like, okay, look, the gun is not the problem. The people is the problem, right? So how can we bridge this? Because now if you let the politicians run with it, everything they say is background checks in the hands of the enemy, or the bad guy, and if you listen to it, they have it scripted down. Like when they was talking about the suppressors, bringing the suppressors, like you just go in and you buy it. I can't remember that one senator's name, but when she sat there, she was like, the bad guy can get this silencer, and then you won't even know where the shot came from. And I'm sitting there, and as soon as I said it, somebody else said the same thing on TV, because I was like, nah, because if somebody shoot with a silencer, you can still depict. It's going to take you longer to figure out where that shot came from, but you're going to know where that shot came from. And at the same time, I don't even think a bad guy even used the silencer in a crime, right? And then that's the same thing that they said on TV. They was like, no, we never had a report of anybody using the silencer in a crime. So, but I was like, even if you ban them, if somebody had intentions of using it, they're going to get it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Because, if you got bad intentions, you don't care about the law, So, but why you want to make it harder for people who's doing the right thing?
Well,
right?
we do
but,
all the time.
Yeah, but the whole thing about society is that we're so complacent about a lot of things that we don't take the time to understand people's actions, because it's a cookie cutter society right now. Like I remember back in the 80s, I was having a bad day, and this guy in the neighborhood, he missed his bus. That's how he got to work. He caught the bus. And, in Virginia, the buses ran like every 45 minutes, So by the time he got to work, he was late. Now, I don't know if he lost his job, if he got docked because he was late. But remember, we didn't have cell phones back then either, But he literally took the time to sit there and talk to me to make sure I was okay. You know what I'm saying? So who's willing to do that in today's society? So... And my personal opinion, like when people say that CPT, colored people's time, like, okay, that's the reason why it was colored people's time, because I wanted to make sure my brother was okay before I took off, because I don't want him to do something that's going to affect his family, his children. Like, let me encourage him with words, make sure his mind is right before I leave this, but we don't do that in today's society no more. If you can't relate to that analogy, look at driving, right? I remember back in the 80s, riding in the car, my mom, my dad, whoever in the family was driving. Flash your headlights, people get over. Say you put your turn signal on, people will slow down, let you get in front of them. Today, you do that, man, they speed up on you, trying to run you off the road. Like, what in the world? Yeah. So, like I said, society made a big shift. So if we made a shift like that, okay, so let's go into these areas and let's promote, gun awareness and make it safe for everybody. Whereas, okay, this person, he has a little bit of celebrity status and have people following behind him. Let's get him to talk, because those people who are following behind him are going to push his message out a little bit more. And then before you know it, you're going to have the politicians, hey, we want to talk to you. Let's get this going, And sometimes that's what it takes, because I've always said, anytime there's change, there's going to be pain before, it becomes comfort.
That sounds like some MMA stuff right there.
Oh, yeah, that's true right there.
That's all right, man. Man, how can folks reach you and keep up with what you got?
First things first, I'm on the Black Man with the Gun podcast every week. So if you want to reach out through me, through the Black Man with the Gun podcast, you can go to blackmanwiththegun.com under the leaders tab, click on my name, Michael Woodland, and shoot me an email, or just contact Ken and pass your message to him. He'll get it to me. If you want to hit me up on Facebook, just go ahead and type in M-W Tactical. On Instagram, munitions, weapons tactical, or just visit my website, m-wtactical.com.
And what are you teaching? What are you doing?
Right now, I'm about to take a break because it's cold outside. But when I get back into it, probably into the spring and the summertime next year, gun awareness. Anybody wants to learn how to manipulate a firearm, if it's your first time having a firearm, I'll take the time and teach you that. AR, concealed carry. You know what I'm saying? So, like I said, next year we're about to get hot and heavy with it.
Sounds good, man. Man, thank you for the encouragement. Thank you for pushing an old dude to do video, because it wouldn't happen without you.
Hey, I figured I got some marketing strategy where I can pull you back into the realm of things.
Yeah, I'm watching your lead, Doc. I'm going, man.
Yeah, like I said, I learned so much from you, man. It's like I'm one of those guys. Like whenever I do something, hey, I gotta step it up. I gotta get eyes on me. I gotta do something. You know what I'm saying? So
you're doing good, Mike. You're doing good.
Like I say, but we can do it together, though.
And we will. 2018.
That's it right there, all day.
All right, man. We'll see you soon.
All right. So keep shooting, keep practicing, and have fun. Back to you, Ken.
All right.
This portion of the show is sponsored by CrossbreedHolsters.com. Crossbreed Holsters has gained national recognition as a maker of the best and most functional concealment holsters available on the market today. Each holster is handcrafted to ensure your firearm is safe and secure while carrying, combined with the best customer service in the industry. Visit CrossbreedHolsters.com.
All right, that's it for this week. I want to thank you so much for being a part of my life. If there's anything I can do for you, feel free to send me an email, to give me a call, or hit me back up on Facebook, Twitter, or any of the social media platforms that exist out here. I plan to do a whole lot more shooting in 2018, so if you would like to hang out with a brother, send me a note, an email to blackmanwithagun@gmail.com. If you haven't checked out my book, you can find it on Amazon.com or go to book.blackmanwithagun.com and it'll take you right there. Just in case nobody has told you this today, I love you. And there's not a damn thing you can do about it. I'm wishing you and your family a very Merry Christmas. Shalom, baby. Bells will be ringing the glad, glad news. Oh, what a Christmas to have the blues. My baby's gone. I have no friends to wish me greetings once again. Choirs will be singing Silent Night, Christmas carols by candlelight. Please come home for Christmas. Please come home for Christmas. If not for Christmas, by New Year's night. Friends and relations send salutations. Sure as the stars shine above. This is Christmas. Yes, Christmas, my dear, the time of year to be with the one you love. Then won't you tell me you'll never more roam? Christmas and New Year's will find you home. There'll be no more sorrow, no grief and pain, for I'll be happy, happy once again. Ooh, No more sorrow, no grief and pain, 'cause I'll be happy, happy once again.
Until next time, friends.
To keep in touch with Ken and his cause, head over to blackmanwithagun.com.